Hi everyone, Life Coach Carisa here, coming to you today with a new topic around how managing your mind is the key to everything. Everything changed for me when I learned how to be more mindful and intentional with how my brain spends its time. When I took charge of this and directed it more, I started to see my hopes and dreams coming true. I started to feel more peace and contentment in my life. So I specifically want to ask you, who is running your life? I'm sure you're thinking, well, that would be me, Carisa. I'm running my own life. But I want to ask you again, who is deciding what you think and how you spend your time? It's part of you, sure, but I have a hunch it is the primitive part of your brain making most of the decisions on what you think about the majority of your day, because 95% of the time, that is where our brain works from. To be efficient, to keep us safe, to repeat thoughts that it's thought over and over before. So I'm not really talking about the tasks that you must do for household or for work. I'm referring to that endless chatter that is going on inside your head nearly every hour while you are awake. That background noise. You know what I'm talking about, right? You wake up with it, you go to sleep with it. How do I know this? Because I have the same brain components as you, and I had that same inner voice inside my head offering me all sorts of unmotivating, worrisome thoughts. I still have it, but I decide when I open the door to it. Most of us would be very strict on who we would let walk into our homes. We feel that is a safe place for us, and we must know the person pretty well to let them into our safe space. But let's say, what if you did know this person well, but every time they came to visit, they caused a major disruption to your household, your family? How likely are you to allow them back without some boundaries and ground rules? You would protect yourself and your family and make the hard decisions that had to be made. It seems so obvious, right? But what I want to offer you is, do you guard your brain the same way? Are you particular about who you let in, who you let take up space, who you let talk your ear off and then just walk away when they are done being a negative drain on you in your own private space of your brain? What do you let in? I think if you're like me, the answer is no, because sometimes that inner chatter is in fact you, your own primitive brain and inner critic speaking to you. I used to think I needed to listen to every word this voice said. I used to think I have a pretty smart brain, and I think this is wisdom and experience speaking to me. So listen up, Carisa. There may be something useful here. But I was never taught that the primitive part of our brain has a purpose to seek pleasure, comfort, and to exert as little energy as possible. Oh, and it wants to keep you safe too. So what does it do? It is constantly scanning for danger, looking for threats and circumstances that could mean trouble. It's trying to look out for you. So we get pulled into this patterning. We listen to it. We go with it, and we sit with these thoughts for way too long. And when we do that, we are most certainly going to have a feeling about it. And then based on those vibrations in our body, that feeling, that's what feelings are. It's a vibration in our body. We're going to take some sort of action. But it all happens so fast. It's very hard to slow it down so that you can see this playing through. But what I'm suggesting is that we truly must become mindful of what is happening inside of our brain. We must look at it as a contributor, not an authority. We must decide when to open the door, when to listen intently to what it has to say. And then we must make a decision as to whether this visitor is helpful or not. The same you would do in your home. So what can we do to be more mindful? We must overcome our brain's desire for efficiency. Our brains love patterning, it loves repetition. This is not so great news for all the thought loops and belief systems that are no longer serving us, but they are so unconscious. They visit us each and every day. So what I do for a mindfulness practice, this really could be unique to each person, but I'm going to offer you what I do as a mindfulness practice to at least give you like a starting point of what to think about, what you could do. So I do thought downloads daily, which is me spending 5 to 10 minutes dumping all the stuff in my head out on paper. Anything and everything floating around in there, no matter how random or stupid it may seem, I don't judge it. If I'm thinking it, I get it out. I look at all the thoughts on paper and I start to question them. Which ones are stories, not facts? And I can call bullcrap on it right away. Then I'll use the self-coaching model tool that I teach to work through the thoughts that I want to get more curious about. Ultimately, if I don't like the results that I'm seeing due to what these thoughts are creating for me, then I will do some intentional models to try on new thoughts that could also be true and that I can begin to believe. And in this process, I will decide what I want to feel, create, and do. I will decide what thoughts I need to believe in order for me to create and feel what is needed for what I want to accomplish. And a little side note, previously I would have made a list where I write down 25 things that I want more of in my life. They may be things, accomplishments, experiences, improvements. I always keep these top of mind. I refer back to that list of 25 things regularly. Sometimes they're things I already have, but I really want to have the gratitude and appreciation for them. But my thoughts need to match up to these goals. So I make a list of these thoughts that can keep me moving towards my goals, and I begin to pump them into my brain. I've used several approaches to do this. I have written the new thoughts on note cards, kept them by my bed, and when I wake up, I flip through them. Before I do anything else, I pump these motivating thoughts into my brain. It's like I'm retraining, right? And mornings have the most energy, so you can use your brain power to reprogram at that time. I've also used affirmations or mantras. This can be very helpful for planting these new thoughts and ideas in your brain. It can be extremely powerful. For example, when I was beginning my life coaching certification, and I was so unsure of myself and my primitive brain had so much negative chatter to offer me, I practiced the affirmation, people need help, and I can help people. I would repeat this phrase several times in the morning, and when I would notice self-doubt creeping in, I would repeat it. People need help, and I can help people. It was just enough of a pause and redirection that I was able to continue moving forward without getting stuck in the negative emotion that would have come up otherwise, which then would have had me taking actions that take me farther away from my goals. With new thoughts and affirmations, I have used Post-it notes on my bathroom mirror, on my desk, on my computer. Currently, I use a free app called YAP, Y-A-P-P, and I enter in a few intentional thoughts that I want to make more common in my brain. And I set it to pop up on my phone and watch several times a day. And so that constant reminder throughout the day is so helpful to me. When I see it, I repeat it to myself a couple times out loud, and I'm just retraining my brain. Just like I lift weights and work to strengthen my muscles, I'm doing that with my brain. So much of what we think about and do is because of the neural pathways we have built up. So 2 things need to happen to create a new neural pathway. 1, we need to learn the new behavior or thoughts. And 2, we need to practice it. You have to do it enough to replace the old. So repeat, repeat, repeat. Here is one area of my life that I noticed I was on autopilot with. Checking email or social media first thing in the morning. I really work to avoid this at all costs. If the morning is when I have the most brain power and energy, why would I ever want to open up the door to who knows what? Tell me in what ways this has ever been helpful, because I can't find it. It's a story that we cannot wait 1 to 2 hours before intentionally deciding to let this sort of content into our brains. Remember the front door analogy? Picture social media and email and everything that it contains just standing there knocking incessantly at your door, waiting to take your attention and focus for however long you let it stay. So I strongly encourage you to avoid social media and email for 1 to 2 hours after you awake. Challenge yourself for 30 days and see what comes up for you when you don't follow your usual pattern. The brain will feel all sorts of discomfort, but this is okay because a feeling is just a vibration and we can handle any emotion and let ourselves feel it and process it. I'll be doing another video soon on how to process a feeling because I think that could be very helpful. Okay, so I know I already used the analogy of the visitor to your home when referring to thoughts coming in and taking up space, but I wanted to use some twisted humor with this story and tell you about how I let thoughts run my life previously. And, because of having compassion for myself and my past and where I have been, it's what has allowed me to heal and learn new things and challenge myself in new ways. But I want you to visualize your brain driving your car and you are in the passenger seat. Like literally get that visual. Picture yourself in your car, in your passenger seat, and you look over and your brain is just sitting there in the driver's seat. Maybe it has a little seat cushion to make it taller so it can see over the steering wheel. And its short little legs maybe barely reach the pedals. And you ask the driver, your primitive brain, hey, where are we going today? And it says, oh, same place as we go every day. Hope that's okay with you. It's familiar to me and I know the roads well. You just agree, go along for the ride. You don't really like this route. Yes, it's familiar, but it usually makes you feel like crap every time you take this route. But you sit there passively, not asking for it to stop or take a different route today. So for me, and how I used to let my brain drive me around, this is what my route would have looked like some days, probably most days. Since I liked to pick up my phone first thing in the morning and go on social media and open email, we would turn down the envy highway first. I would compare and create despair within myself. I would give way too much energy to what I felt was missing or, what I was missing out on or not doing right. I would place myself as a victim and wonder, why am I not enjoying life as much as everybody else? Everyone else's family seems to be doing well. They travel, go to great places, and look like they are in love. Their kids seem to be successful at school and sports. They live in a much better part of the world. My life is just so repetitive, and I dread doing what I do every day. I wish I could just change it all up. After that, the driver, my primitive brain, may get off the highway and continue on to Perfection Pike. This is a very familiar road. This is where we decide that in order to obtain all those things that we are envious of, we must aim for perfection. We must try to do everything perfect and get everything done and try to please everyone. There is no room for anything less than 100% effort. This applies to work, kids, exercise. Try to do it all and be it all. All you have to do is keep pushing harder. You know how to grind. You've been doing it for so long. Only 20 more years of this, and then that magical day will be here where it all gets better and you can slow down to enjoy life. Oh no, a quick turn onto Exhaustion Avenue. You can't keep up this pace. It's taking a toll on you. You're complaining to yourself and many people around you. as if any of them can give you the answer. You can't sustain this. What are you going to do? After that, the driver, my primitive brain, may get off that highway and continue on to self-judgment lane. This is where I think about all the things that I'm currently doing wrong and have done wrong, and I continue to punch myself in the face figuratively about all of it. You're working too much. You're not taking care of yourself. It's negatively affecting your kids, your health, your relationships, your spirit. Look how much damage you've done. Your kids will need therapy someday. This is exactly what you didn't want to have happen. You had issues with your dad, and look where it got you. Now you've done the exact same thing with them. Hey, turn coming up onto Guilt Road. Why do you keep doing this? You want things to be different, but you haven't been strong enough to change what doesn't feel good. You've buried yourself into work for so long now. You tried to take care of your parents too, but you couldn't juggle it all. Remember all the times you didn't even hear what the kids said to you? You weren't even listening? You try to put everyone and everything in front of your peace and calm? You give in to simple pleasures like drinking wine daily to force yourself to be happy? Next up is shame circle. And here we are. Never speak any of this trouble. Only share the good so you can try to make yourself feel normal. Just stuff it down. If anyone knew how far off track you've gotten, they would think you're crazy. I can't believe you've gotten to this point. What happened to the high expectations you had for yourself? I guess you weren't strong enough to handle it all the way you thought you could. Guess you'll just have to stay on this road for a while and sit in your shame and sadness. Good thing this road is a circle, because then you can just stay in this loop and keep going around and around until you really learn your lesson. Oh, I guess we ran out of gas. I'm in my bed, head on the pillow. Can't wait to get back in the car tomorrow to let my driver, my primitive brain, drive me around again. Same old roads, same old sights. But there's some comfort in the familiarity, right? Taking those new roads uses so much energy, and it can be so scary. There's so much unknown. Best to stay in what you know. Good night. I'll see you in the morning, brain. I know, that was a crazy ride, right? But when I think back to my daily routine, that is often how I would describe my brain management. There was no oversight. I was along for the ride. I was in the passenger seat. Whatever route it wanted to take that it had traveled before, I was so hesitant to share this story of mine because it feels a little bit embarrassing to be so transparent. There was this thought that popped in my head of, what if no one can relate to what you were saying? Oh dear. But I'm going to go with my gut on this and say that I can't be alone. Your roads may be different names, but I know that not understanding how the brain works, how to manage it, and how to be intentional sets us up for this type of nonstop chatter. Maybe it isn't out of control for you yet. Maybe it will pop up someday. For those of you, I am here to tell you my story. The primary cause of unhappiness is never the situation, but your thoughts about it. You decide what you want to think and focus on. If you do not give your brain a direction, it will take over and decide for you. We can be certain that it is going to come from the primitive brain with negativity, scarcity, and repetitiveness, because that is what the primitive brain does, and you are using that portion of your brain 95% of the time. My brain used to think about all sorts of things. Whatever it was focused on, it was providing me all sorts of chatter about it. Sometimes the voices were so constant, it was exhausting. But once I learned how my brain works and what I need to do if I want to be more intentional and go after what I want more of in my life, it all changed for me. I'm still a work in progress, but I am definitely much more mindful than I have ever been in my life. And it shows because I'm going after more of what I want in my life. managing my thoughts and feelings, taking proactive, massive action, and I'm seeing results. So if this feels familiar, this incessant chatter inside your head that never stops, please know there is nothing wrong with you. You have a human brain. Someone needs to management. Someone needs to manage it, and that person is you. So kick that primitive brain of yours over into the passenger seat and tell it, I'm learning new roads. They will become familiar to us if we travel them more. I'm actually excited to see some new roads. You can sit there, and when I need you for support, I know you'll be on the ready. You always are. I know I can count on you in times of distress and trouble. But growth and happiness in my everyday life does not come from being worried and panicked around every corner, or from routine and following the same path every day. All right, everyone. I hope you find this helpful. Thanks to you for all listening. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, like any videos you find helpful, and share them so I can reach more people. My goal is to help end the pain and suffering that we cause ourselves with not managing our minds. That's my goal. All right, have a great week, everyone. I'll see you next time.